Hi, I'm Dave from Garmin, and welcome to Virtual CJP. I appreciate the offer that I get to be here. Now, I am in Broomfield, Colorado today in the JetTech hangar. If you're not familiar with JetTech, they've done dozens of STCs on citations, whether it be 525s, 550s, 560s, and lucky for us, most of them involve Garmin products. And a good example is this airplane behind me. This is JetTech's own CJ, and let's go ahead and take a look and see what they got inside. Now I'm sitting in JetTech's Citation CJ525 Charlie. Now, if you already own a CJ and you decided you don't want to spend any more money on avionics, I recommend turning off the video player now, because I think after I show you this panel, you're going to want this. It is, this airplane and panel is beautiful. So let's take a quick look and see what we got in here. So take a look at this layout. So in the heart of the panel, like most of you, you already even have GTN 750s in your panel. These happen to be the new version of the GTN 750, the GTN 750 Xis. They look and feel much like the legacy units, but the big difference is this has a lot faster processor than we had in previous GTNs. So like zooming in, zooming out, doing actions, it's immediate. There's hardly any lag with it. And where you really will notice a difference is when you turn on the master avionics switch and you boot these up. It is so much faster initializing on the new Xi versions of it. So again, I think most of you are familiar with the GTN 750s, but real quick, because this is the heart of the panel, or like I like to say, this is the quarterback, or we're from Kansas City, so this is the Patrick Mahomes of the panel. This is your MVP. So when we take a look at this, this is a multifunction display. So it's got all our maps, taxiway diagrams, everything else, terrain, weather, traffic. It's also a comm. It's also a nav. And in this installation, it's also the controller for a remote audio panel, a remote intercom, and it also is a tuner and controls our remote transponders. Real quick on the intercom, this is a big deal because now you don't have to do the old flip back and forth on the switch to talk to your co-pilot. It's automatically going to do the intercom control for you. So let's go back here. Besides being the controller, like I said, for intercom transponder, if we come over here, this also controls your radar. So I just touched weather. Now, these are all the different weather products I have on this box. So radar, I want control radar. I can turn it on, do all my tilt from this page. In this case, we have our GTX 345 ADS-BN transponder, so I can look at my weather being uplinked through the FIS-B. I can come over here, which I'll probably use the most, is my Sirius XM weather. And in this installation, it also has our GSR 56 Iridium phone system, which is actually what we use mostly for international weather. So for our friends in Europe and South America, that's going to be their Weather Connect. But it is also a true telephone where I can make calls through my headsets. I can text from my iPad using my flight stream and stuff. So, and through the GTN 750. So I can send text with it and also get weather in Europe. So you've got this, whether you want it or whether you don't, it's in there. Now let's take a look at the G600 TXi. This display is beautiful. So this is primarily our primary flight display. In this case, I've got synthetic vision turned on. So let me do a quick disclaimer here real quick. I mentioned I'm in Broomfield, Colorado, just north of Denver. For this video, I actually set it up so we're looking like we're in Aspen, Colorado, sitting at the end of the runway. And a lot of you have probably actually been in this exact spot. So you've got your synthetic vision, primary flight display in front of you. It is a no excuses display. It displays all my autopilot functionality up here, along with my bugging my speeds and having my airspeed and altitude and everything you would expect. It also has the ability to do split screen. So I can add another map. But right here, my two GTN 750s, that's not enough. You need more maps. So now I can split screen this. And if I go to home page, and if you're used to the GTN 750, it looks just like it. So it's easy to use. Like if I'm taking off out of Aspen, I probably would bring a terrain page up right before I take off. But we'll get into a little more detail on that in just a minute. One more thing, though, I do want to point out is the ability to add maps. So this is a lot like our integrated flight decks. You start with 2 multifunction displays when we look at it with the GTN 750s. And the reason you want some of those are, I could have my 750 sitting here. I could have one with active radar on it. I could have data link weather next to it. I can have my terrain over here or approach plate over here. Then you can even come over here to the co-pilot side and you can split that and add another multifunction display. So maybe they want to have charts up over on their side. So now we've got 4 multifunction displays. So we went from 2 to 4. And you may say, Dave, is that all the maps I have? I only have 4 maps. Well, no, you've got more. So the HSI actually has the ability to be a map too. So there, I just go to menu, go to HSI setup, HSI map. Now I actually have a map that I can scroll up and down, zoom in and out on with one finger right there in front of me. And I could overlay terrain on that map. I can overlay traffic on the HSI map, just like you do any of the other maps. So at that point, you got 6 maps. Now again, that's probably getting a little carried away. But what you will do, don't get overwhelmed by it. Figure out the layout you like and stick with it. And then it's great having all this information smack dab in front of you. Now, with this system, we also have with it in the pedestal, I don't know if we can see that here, but if we look down at the pedestal, we call our GCU, Garmin Control Unit, 485. So this gives me the ability to change the altitude and heading from dedicated knobs right down here in the pedestal. So I can change altitude by spinning the knob. I can change heading, spinning the knob. This is also baro. So it sits right where my hand is sitting. You don't have to use this. You'll be able to do everything on the TXi display, but this is a great add-on to it and an option to this layout. Now last, but definitely not least, is going to be the Garmin Autopilot. Now that's one thing we do extremely well at Garmin is the autopilot. And believe me, it doesn't happen by accident. We spent a lot of time in this airplane flying it to get it tuned in and tuned up. This is no excuses autopilot. So this has our full envelope protection, our Garmin ESP, electronic stability protection. And what that means is if I'm sitting here hand flying the airplane, I overbank and it starts getting past 60-degree bank turn, it's going to try to push me up towards center. Do it if I start over speeding and diving, it's going to push me up and keep me from over speeding. Same thing from stalling. And this is why hand flying, it just puts pressure that you can kind of nudge you back. If it just started falling off and thinking nobody's flying the airplane, it's actually going to turn the autopilot on in a level mode with it. So this has the full, like I said, envelope protection while you're hand flying. It also has a great feature we call underspeed protection. This keeps the airplane from stalling with the autopilot on. If it was flying up towards a stall before it stalls, it's going to start talking to you, tell you, say airspeed, and it's going to nudge the airplane down and keep it flying. Now again, most CJ pilots don't go out and stall an airplane while it's on autopilot. But because we have that added protection, we feel comfortable leaving the autopilot coupled when you do a go-around. So when you hit go-around down here, normally the autopilot disconnects. So you've been on autopilot for 3 hours, you go down, you're shooting approach to 200 feet. Then also when you hit that go-around thing, boom, you hit it, the autopilot's disconnecting your hand flying. Not with this system. You hit it, it pitches up your command bars, the airplane flies up into it, gives you plenty of time to start adding power, get your flaps up, get your gear up, and clean up the airplane. And if you're going to fly a published missed approach, you'll have one button push on our autopilot, and that's just going to go to nav. And now you're flying the published missed, no matter what it is. Hey, fly to this altitude, then turn to this heading. It's going to do it all, and you sit back and have a cup of coffee. So that's another nice thing. Like I said, this is no excuses. And if all else fails too, this does have the trusty blue button. So if you do get in a situation all of a sudden, hey, things are getting a little behind, you can hit the level button. The autopilot's going to level off. Then you can sort it out going, okay, now I want to initiate a climb, or I want to fly this heading, or I want to direct to and set up a nav. But it gives you time to sort things out. And again, we just really fly an airplane well. And I think most of you have heard that from our friends that have the integrated autopilots that you find on some of our other flight decks, like the M2 and CJ3 Plus and King Airs. We just do a great job. I always say we're aggressive. We don't dilly-dally around when you give it commands, but we do it smoothly, even on our level offs and bottom of descents. So this is going to be a big plus. And probably the biggest deal, too, for a lot of you, I know have been asking for a long time, is coupled VNAV. So now when you set up a hold descend via an arrival, this is going to couple with the VNAV. It's going to display on here, and it's going to fly it all the way down to your bottom altitude on that arrival. So looking at this panel, there is a lot of power in it. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at some of the, a little more detail on things like the GTN 750 and the G600. Now I want to go in just a little bit more detail on the GTN 750. I'm not going to make this a training video and get into it too much, which is tough for me. I like to talk a lot. But thing I want to say about the GTN 750 and the 750 Xi is that evolution, and even from the GNS 430, 530, we really didn't start the design thinking of it for the jet market. It was, hey, we're going to put this in our Baron or Bonanza. It's going to be a great navigator. But it was so good and so powerful and did 90% of what you wanted it to do that folks like Jet Tech and it started doing STCs and certifying it in jets. And because of the success in that market, we've added so many more features to really make this into any type of aircraft box. And so a couple of things I want to show that really did evolve over the years. Probably the biggest is the way we do flight planning and the way we do altitude and VNAV functionality. So let's take a look. So I've got us sitting, as I mentioned earlier, in Aspen, Colorado. And let's say we're going to fly down to Phoenix. So I'm just going to go add waypoint and go KPHX Phoenix. Okay, so let's say they give me clearance. Let's make it a nasty one here. Let's go where they go, hey, we're going to do Aspen. We're going to do the Lens 9 departure, Grand Junction transition, easy for me to say. J15 to Rattlesnake, J44 to Winslow, and join Winslow for the Eagle 6 arrival. So I'm sure you got all that. But so we go Aspen. I just touched the waypoint, and that's what's so cool with this. You just touch a waypoint, boom, it brings up the menu. What do you want to do? Insert something before it, insert after it. Do I want to load a procedure? Yeah, I want to load a procedure. So there it is. I want to load a departure. I want the Lens 9 and Grand Junction transition. And there is load departure. And I put it in there. Now, this is nice. When we look at this departure actually is where you are going to climb out. You're going to turn to a heading of 343 until you hit 9,100 feet. And then once you hit 9,100 feet, you turn to a heading 273, and then you're going to intercept that localizer outbound out of Aspen. And then our top altitude is we're going to cross Lens at or above 16,000 feet. And I got all that just looking at it in the flight plan in this box. I didn't even have to go to the departure. You can almost kind of do a reverse lookup. Look at your flight plan when you enter in here. Read it to yourself, then go look at the departure, and you're going to see it reads like I'm looking at right here. So next thing they gave me, let's say here we went to Phoenix. We want to load procedure and load arrival, and they gave me the Eagle 6. So I'm going to come down here. There's Eagle 6 with a Winslow transition, and let's say we're getting runway 25 left, and load arrival. And this is great. And this is what I'm talking about. This really has transformed into the turbine market. So right here, there's all my crossings. This is a hold descend via, Cross Eagle at or above 18, and then Homer at or below 17. 9,400 feet. There we go. Etsy at or between 8,100 feet. So we've got it all the way down to 4,000 feet. The nice thing here is this is all going to display once we start our VNAV and hit our top of descent. It's all going to display on our G600 TXi. We're going to get a VNAV needle to couple to it. I can set my autopilot or set my altitude to the bottom altitude, and I can set VNav couple on the autopilot, and it's going to fly and bridge that whole arrival. Really slick. Then, let's say they threw a couple airways in there, and this is just to show how we do those things. So you hit Grand Junction. There it is. There's an option, load airway. And I think in that case, I said we were getting J15. And we have the rattlesnake transition, or VOR to rattlesnake. Right now, it's sorted alphabetically. I'm going to hit here, and it's going to put it in order of sequential order. So right there, we select rattlesnake, and we press load. Now, that's in my flight plan. Then I can come down here off of rattlesnake. I touch that, hit load airway, and they gave me J44, and that gets us off at Winslow, and we load. And then that took us into our Eagle 6 arrival. So that whole flight plan is in there. Now, that was one way of doing it. The other thing is, this has our FlightStream 510. That little card has our Bluetooth receiver in it. I can update my databases through it, but I can also upload flight plans. So I want to show something here real quick. Let's see how this will work out. I'm going to open up my iPad here. And in my iPad, I'm going to go here, go menu, and let's go here, go to menu, because menu is your friend on Garmin products, and I'm going to go delete. Okay. Darn, I don't have any flight plan. So what I can do is come to my iPad. I built my flight plan in my iPad, and I've got a little connect thing. I go send to, got a message here. There it is. There's my whole flight plan that I have. Activate. That will work with ForeFlight or Garmin Pilot, preferably Garmin Pilot, which actually, no joke, is getting really, really good. It is a great app. And you can also use Garmin Pilot to update it. But that's pretty slick on how you could build your flight plan and transfer it into the GTN 750s. So again, things that you're going to look at here is the ability to overlay weather, radar, different things on the GTN. But what a great box. Now let's take a little more in-depth look at the G600. So right now we're looking at it. We've got our synthetic vision turned on. And I'm sitting, like I said, at the end of runway 33 in Aspen, getting ready to depart. Again, just a synthetic vision. Look at the difference this makes. So if I go here, I just went to menu, SVT, you say, hey, I don't want synthetic vision. Look at the difference between looking there, normal, let's say it's, cold, snowy, crummy, or that picture in image on your screen. So to me, synthetic vision in this type of situation is huge. Another thing that's really nice is we come over here to the MFD, so we do the split screen. So here's our departure, and you can see on the moving map how we're going to come out, go to 9,100 feet and do that. The thing is, again, with this autopilot, if we go ahead and couple the nav, it's in a heading lake, because we're going to fly this heading 343 that I mentioned, and then that heading, I think, 273 to go intercept. If you're in nav mode and you've got your autopilot set to 16,000 feet, and your pitch set, you just take off, get a couple hundred feet up, clean up the airplane, push nav on it, it is going to fly that departure. It's going to go to that 9,100 feet right there. And once we hit there, it's going to turn to 273 and intercept it. The other thing that's really nice, if I was actually doing this, I would probably come here and fly this on my terrain page. So now I can actually see this valley, the way it goes down. And when you climb out, it really makes a difference. So if you did, God forbid, you lost an engine or had to do something single engine, you've got this map in front of you too, showing your valley and your terrain exactly where it's at relative to your actual altitude. What a great visual you have just sitting here. And the other thing you can do here, again, I just go home and go to charts. So right now it's got the airport diagram since we're sitting at the airport, but I could go select and I could go pick my departures if I want to, or I could put, an approach plate. Now, this isn't the time I would do it, but let's say I just load up an approach plate. What's nice, you are shooting an approach. Look at that. You can have your approach plate sitting right here, and you've got your primary flight display sitting there. The other nice thing is right here, there's my minimums, circling minimums, or 9840. I can just come over here on this side and go minimums, and I want to make them barrel minimums, and I could type in my 9840, enter, and they're set. And they're going to display right up here on the screen. And then we've got our minimum set. So again, a lot of versatility. Then again, this is a Garmin. Hey, I don't need a big primary flight display. I want a bigger map. I can resize it. So it's a 60-40 split. Now I've got 60% my moving map and 40% my primary flight display. Or I can just go home, resize, and now I'm back to the 60% primary flight display, 40% map, or I can go full screen primary flight display. The versatility is great with this. Again, what I wanted to mention, here's all your speeds you bug. Again, you just go to menu, and then you can do your air speeds, and that's where you're going to set the bugs for your air speeds. So again, it's all right there in front of you. So one of the things we always sit there and say is, and to me it's kind of a buzz thing, is going, hey, you got all this stuff, it gives you increased situational awareness. And we know it does, truly does. But, what does that all mean? So here's an example I'd like to show kind of on my iPad from a trip I took a few weeks ago. So this was a trip I took a few weeks ago in the Garmin Bonanza. I was just going down to Little Rock. So right here, I've got an ILS approach lined up. So there is the localizer, that pink line with it. There I am on a base leg. I can come over here to my HSI. It says cross track 23 miles. So now I know I'm 23 miles from center line of that base leg. I also know what the weather was. You can tell, and it really did do this. The weather parted for me. Then I'm shooting the gap in the weather, and it's going to work out well in that situation too. But I'm 23 miles from intercepting. This blue arc is where I'm going to intercept my selected altitude. I've got it selected at 4,000 feet here. So when I get to 4,000 feet, that's my selected altitude. The final fix in this approach is 1,700 feet, and that's even on the map. The arc kind of covers it, but that 1,700 feet is marking the altitude on the map of where I need to be for the final fix. So I know if I'm 4,000 feet there, and I'm probably about 5 miles out from intercept when I hit that, this is going to work out well on the descent. I come over here, I'm in heading mode, got the autopilot on, vertical speed mode set to 600 feet per minute. But this is what I mean by situational awareness. I know exactly where I am, where I'm going to intercept altitudes, what the weather is doing, and that reduces stress. I want to thank JetTech today for letting us come out here and spend some time in their airplane. This panel looks better even in person than it does on the video. It is an awesome layout. But I want to thank JetTech. I also want to thank everybody at CJP. I wish we were all in Nashville together having a beer. This isn't the way we wanted to do it. But thank you, CJP. Thank you, JetTech. For more information on this panel, go to Garmin.com, and see you soon.